It's Thursday, May 1st, 2014. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we've got a profile in Geek with Karl Custer, also known as Uncle Yo.
Let's do this.
Lasting subliminal message.
They like that I do stuff on the show? I don't know. I don't know if anyone, the listener has never complained.
The listener.
For anyone who cares, I stole that joke from NPR, It's All Politics.
We know that. All right, so yeah, screw news and thing of the day because I can't find any, and it's too nice out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like airliners are disappearing and Ukraine is on the brink of collapse.
It's nothing we need to talk about on this show on Thursday, and I just want to go outside.
You don't want to talk on the lounge?
No, I want to go to the beautiful weather and the beautiful food. So let's talk to Karl and then leave.
I'm very much enjoying the fact that it was literally shit weather. Shit was falling from the sky until about midday today. The sun came out.
Now it is the best possible
The birds
weather.
started singing. Jonathan Colton was in Central Park, and I guess he sang 1st of May, I heard, like
Hell
for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, within about 2 hours, the weather outside suddenly went from an old Don Bluth movie to a newer Don Bluth movie. It was a complete turnaround.
So Karl, why haven't you been on this show before?
You tell me, son. I'm like, I have lived, what, 4 subway stops away from Rim for how long? Oh, goodness. No, actually, one of I think it was the first instance that we ever, that there was ever a meeting eye to eye. So, New York Anime Festival, we're down still in the basement of the Javas before we had ever grown up to be subjugated and moved down into the attic. Before we were just like basically, it was a lot like the Comic-Con was kind of trying to flush the anime circuit out of its own system. Like full-on head cold was Anime Festival, and then Comic-Con with a little bit of anime programming was when they were up in the attic, and then they finally popped that zit and then just let all the weeaboos go. And they said, here is New York Comic-Con. It'll be San Diego Comic-Con, but there will be even fewer buses, but more Walking Dead people.
Man, we didn't even live in the city back then. I remember we were leaving.
No,
and
still Beacon.
yeah, a bunch of people were heading back out to Flushing, and I didn't even know where Flushing was. And I was like, well, time to get on my 2-hour train.
I remember the very first New York Comic Con when the Anime Festival was still separate. I was in the city for a day for some reason, and I walked over there, and I'm like, nope, and I walked away.
I have an archive of that conversation. You were like, yeah, so the fire department's here.
I still have the original recording from when you said, so just press this. Maybe I'll get it to you after the show. Press what? That's the record button. Bye. I'm hungry. I'm going to go. Farewell, long-haired man.
So young, naive, thinking that Reed was going to run an anime con and it was going to be totally okay.
The idea that the Anime Con was going to progress into some sort of a business model. I mean, the only one that's been able to keep up with that has been Crunchyroll, and that's really just to the extent of like Denver legalizing marijuana was something similar to how Crunchyroll decided we can't stop them from downloading, but if we make them keep thinking that they're downloading, because we can't teach them new habits, but maybe we can teach them to click here.
Kids still pirate anime, though, and their argument is the watermark in Crunchyroll ruins the experience.
Okay.
Speaking of which, Scott, we're still logged into your Crunchyroll, so...
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
You want to fun with Crunchyroll? Out in, I think it was Penn State, someone raised their hand during, it's the only show that will do an 18-plus panel called Tentacles and Trash Talk, and every year it becomes a different terrible fiasco. The one year that we actually did show, like, classic, what was it, Demon Beast Invasion, I think, just for the sake of the audience, guy came up to me, and after 3 years, he finally got laid after taking this girl to cons. I said, I promise you that had nothing to do with Tentacles and Trash Talk, but for some reason he's
You don't know that girl. Who knows who that could be?
Lord help us all. But there was someone who raised their hand and said, I get offended when people say that Attack on Titan is the new Full Metal Alchemist, and the only thing
But we say that. But Black Dynamite.
I know.
Attack on Titan is the new Full Metal Alchemist.
If you bring that up, then clearly those may be the only 2 anime you have ever heard of or seen on DeviantArt.
These kids, I always try to remind them, like, so, you ever heard of this thing called Fushigi Yugi? Yeah, it was as big as your Attack on Titan. And
That's true.
You will not only have never heard of it, but wouldn't watch it because it looks old.
All right. So we seem to have diverted into a land of anime talk, but not all the listeners know who Karl is. We've sort of taken that for granted.
Yeah.
No, not a problem.
Shall we continue to do so?
If you wish.
So what exactly is it that you do?
Who are you? Why do...
I've questioned that for so long, the last 6 years. I'm a geek-specific stand-up comedian, and I only met you guys through our mutual burlesque buddy, Stella Chu, back when there was a real name to be had attached to that lovely woman. But my concept after running the anime club at SUNY Purchase was I just been to New York Comic Convention. So it's still junior year of college. We're still talking like 2006 or 7. And I wanted to try as hard as I could to get into more conventions because growing up 80s and 90s, that just meant cartoons were in my DNA. The Disney afternoon was muscle memory at this point. The opening to Mighty Max was stuck in my heart and my soul.
Mighty Max.
Seeing that many people in
I was thinking
costume.
of Fantastic Max.
Oh my God, yes.
Easily confused.
That and Super Ted.
Or Mighty Mouse.
Money Mouse was wonderful. I was interested by
Danger
that remake
Mouse.
that they did.
All right, let's not carry this any further.
Trying to remember what that Biff Possum super dynamic radical rodent of tomorrow was, if he was linked to the new Mighty Mouse or the new. Anyway, I'm a geek specific stand-up comedian, and after like 5 years, I've simply toured around the Northeast, and now at this point, Otakon, Anime Expo out on the West Coast. I've hit up Boston a couple of times. There's really not a college anime convention that I will not appear to, so long as they're cool with getting me up there. So what it originally started as was just a way to get into cons without needing to pay. A lot of people have tried to sneak their way into that many times. It works great, especially if you walk around with a Bluetooth and a sports coat. That'll get you into almost any show. Just letting them know, I have a panel in 5 minutes. It's up to you. You can take it up with me or take it up with the con chair.
I do recall a certain unnamed con where we walked in, convinced them we were guests, and walked out of that room with guest badges.
Kat ends up getting a guest pass more than I do, and it's fun because I get to see her get more backstage passes than actual guests or panelists at other conventions. You get more knowing me than actually being me. But no, I guess I've launched maybe 3 comedy albums. I've subjected you to enough of that, Rim. DVD as well, and after like 5 or 6 years, Kat says, take a year off, try to grow this brand, see what you can do if you market yourself as the loud white guy in the silver tie, which gets me into more trouble than necessary. If I do a show at a hotel for the first time, people think I'm either staff or I'm catering. And I was in Harrisburg, and there was a catering event happening next door. Everyone was dressed like Uncle Yo in a black apron, so solid black silver tie. And I just wondered,
Free food.
could I walk in and fire all those people and convince them that they were fired?
What you should have done is taken a picture and then tweeted it and said, everyone's cosplaying as me. This is amazing.
That's also good.
What's terrible is that there's a character in both One Piece and Homestuck that wears something very similar to Uncle Yo, especially since they go on to the tux. And it's getting to a point where I can't determine whether people are or not cosplaying me at this point.
I would have never thought I'd hear the One Piece and Homestuck in the same sentence.
See, now if you change slightly to, like, you know, distinguish yourself from them, is that like an admittance of failure, or is that in a way like leadership? And
here's my
breaking
deal:
away?
if the angry video game nerd and the nostalgia critic can get those bit background roles in an anime, how long do I have to do this before Japan recognizes I actually care about them so much more than Doug Walker? I know so much more of their medium than Mr. Walker.
Isn't that so strange? It's like, I think you do more cons than anyone I know.
I did 26 last year.
Yeah,
you now do more than we did at our peak of cons.
Yeah, and I think the second person to do the most cons that I know personally
Charles
is us.
Dunbar?
Well, Charles
Yeah.
Dunbar and then us, right? So it's like so much and it used to be that if you were in-person famous, that is the most famous, right? But now it's like you could never appear at a con ever, but if you're on YouTube famous, that's bigger.
Let me tell you,
than
26 weekend shows last year, at least half of those shows, these could be actual conventions, these could be in the basement of a library, which is where I was in Kentucky. There is a 2-hour block dedicated to showing the abridged Dragon Ball Z. Not Dragon Ball Z
Oh my
kind,
God,
not
those
Dragon
abridged
Ball
people.
Z,
No,
but just the abridged people.
Team 4-star.
Team 4-star.
I got in trouble once for
Throw it out.
scheduling apparently the wrong abridged at a Kineticon. So all these people were like, that was called Dragon Ball Abridged, but it wasn't. And I was like, what they did was Dragon Ball Abridged. I don't know who you are or what to tell you.
Could have been worse. You could have
I
booked
don't know
Sailor
anything
Moon
about
abridged.
anything. All I know is that it's a popular thing, and Team 4-star has something to do with it.
Well, it was telling at PAX because they had the Giant Bomb panel, and right before that, they had like some YouTuber guys who like stream their Minecraft, and the latter was all 30-year-old white dudes. The former was all 12-year-old boys and their moms. That room filled, people lined up hours in advance.
I love the video of like the old Cockney granny playing through Grand Theft Auto 5 and just cursing at people as she's hitting them with a rocket
But a
launcher.
good one.
So much love because there's so much delicious spite. She doesn't want to fully dive into it and start screaming, but she will just delightfully, oh, Take that, you knob locker. There you go. Oh, terrible, terrible boy.
So, Karl, why do you seek fame and adoration from the masses? Is it because you ran an anime
Well,
club?
he already said he wants to get into cons for free.
No,
Is that the only reason, though?
Well, the thing is with narcissism is that you don't need other people to tell you that you have it, but you do need other people to validate your personal belief for having it at that point. The reason to go around to cons is I'm so much more comfortable on stage yelling at a room full of strangers than I am really one-on-one. And for me, it's part therapy, it's part self-discovery. Born and raised a writer, so comedy for me is writing for myself. So it scratches the two itches that I've never been able to put a title to. But once I realized, all I want to do is write and perform. If I can do both, that's so much easier. Yes, right between. Oh, yes. Let me do that some more.
So, is it hurting or helping that you're getting the Geeknights studio experience of neither one of us looks at you?
It's absolutely spectacular. I mean, I've had my dick out this entire interview.
Oh God! Oh God! Well, so
that's not a first in this apartment.
That I've had my dick out, or that
I don't know. You always talk about how like we do the podcast with like our eyes closed, we're not looking at anything.
You do.
You pretty much never wear pants if you are in a house that belongs to you.
So not wearing pants
or a close friend or family member
is for comfort.
That is an American right.
You lay down and close your eyes and won't look at anyone when we talk to them on the show.
Do I need to look at someone and talk to them on the show?
That's what humans do.
He knows where they are. He's going to his happy place. He's imagining us all as just these weird like goat
I'm
anemone
concentrating on what
puppets.
I'm going to say so I can say better things as opposed to trying to process, visual stimuli.
No one could tell, but Howard Stern always had those eyes peeled shut and just pined, stapled behind the sunglasses.
I'm pretty sure everyone in the Howard Stern show is like in a separate sealed booth. And
No, from what I saw, they did it around a big table, and they'd like pass notes to, like someone would come up with a joke, and they'd pass the note around to like get the joke perfect, and then someone would deliver it at the right time.
Oh.
I vaguely recall seeing something to that effect.
We will
somewhere.
never achieve that level.
Like live writing. No, you guys need a Robin.
Isn't that show like 6 hours a day starting early in the morning or something like that?
I guess it's an early form of Minecraft streaming, just without the Minecraft.
Maybe.
It's just him.
It's super long, and it's every day, and it's I don't think we could ever do that.
Originally, when it was just called Talking at People. Mm-hmm. Now to see it evolve. I mean, but then again, there's you guys who got started. I think you were the first people to ever name the noun podcast.
What?
For me.
Oh, for you?
For you? Well,
that you
At
heard?
least for me personally. Like,
oh, okay.
Well, Scott
definitely didn't come up with it.
Scott did
no.
podcasting before podcasting once.
Yeah, back in RIT, before, podcasting, I think, existed in 2004-ish, so this is probably around the same time. But, I had a blog that was, just really crappy blog, and I hosted, in our colony apartment. And I was just like, hey, what if I just, record an MP3 of me talking and just put it in the blog post, and then that, and there wasn't RSS feeds or podcast readers or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just did it.
no one knew how to find it.
I don't think anyone listened to it or cared, but I did it. So
I listened to it.
Okay.
Aww.
That might have counted, maybe. But yeah, it wasn't until the iPod Nano came out and they added podcast to iTunes that I fully understood what a podcast was, what a RSS feed, how it worked with the embedding the media in it and everything.
No, I'll be honest. We do Geeknights as a podcast, and it's fun and all, but podcasting's kind of plateaued, if not dead.
I think it's a weird thing. It's plateaued. It's much like broadcast radio, right?
Yeah,
With
I think the
terrestrial
people who
radio.
are going to discover it and find it to fill in those niche, whether it's for the long drive, whether it's for the jog, whether it's just they have their eyes or hands occupied. They just need sound in the background. The people who are going to find that need that niche too. You're not gonna pitch a podcast to say like someone like me who's on my feet 8 hours a day at a restaurant. Try checking out this. Try checking out this. I can get my news when I'm sitting down on the subway. It's hard to break people into it, but once they found that niche and it fit their time, they'll make time for it. Mm-hmm. That's the neat part about it. I mean, you want to argue that either NPR or Stuff You Should Know or Mark Maron or even Night Vale have plateaued it. The real question ends up being now that the medium has found itself, is there anywhere else for it to go? And if there really isn't, totally content with that.
Yep.
Find your audience, and if nothing else, the internet is this macrocosm of microcosms, so you're totally able to absorb just the media that you want, the opinions that you respect and would otherwise vocalize
live
yourself.
in a tiny bubble and ignore the rest of society.
Huzzah!
Yeah.
Welcome to Kentucky. I shouldn't say that. I meant Tennessee.
I think what's hurt podcasting, at least, is a lot of people thought they could make money doing it or turn it into their career.
Yeah,
and
those people all
you
disappeared.
pretty much definitely can't do it as its own thing. It has to be auxiliary to something else.
Almost like making money off of the anime fans.
Yeah, but you're really working on trying to do this as your 100% career, making content, making things. You're doing the thing that we really never had the courage to do. We keep just working
If
jobs.
I worked in a restaurant, I would be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
If you worked at a restaurant, you would not be at that restaurant very long. They were so close to strangling, especially the people who were coming in. Especially the neighborhood that I'm in is, you have to imagine one of those really primitive, angry anthills, like where the ants have those massive jaws and spray acid. But the thing is, the queen ant is dead. So every other ant looked at each other and said, I guess I'm the queen. And they just go at it. I have people hour after hour. You have to be my mommy now. All right, as soon as I talk to these other 4 people, no, you be my mommy, and you do it this way, the way my mommy used to. When did you last see your mommy? In the Confederate War. Okay.
Okay.
You have been in the city for far too long. I smell colors. I'm aware, lady, I'm aware.
I'm definitely too misanthropic in some senses to ever deal with the public at large.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I mean, I was known at RIT as literally the worst pizza chef the school had ever seen.
I thought Greg Hartman was the worst pizza
Well,
chef.
he quit literally the first day on the job, so I don't
How
think
does that
counts.
can't get worse than that?
He showed up. We signed up. We're like, yeah, we're gonna get jobs, and they gave us jobs. They're like, you want to start right now? We said sure, and we like washed dishes or something in the back. And then the next day, he just didn't show up to work.
It's difference of being a worse guy if you're talking about just in terms of how long you were behind the counter. Like if you just quit within the first 10 seconds, that's slightly different than you burned the store down, you cost them so much money, you ruined its reputation.
Dick came out.
Dick got on the pizza got on the dick, everybody lost. And I mean, just RIT keeps popping up. I'll let you know, Toricon is now within 5-6 buildings on that campus.
Oh my God.
It is beautiful to see it expand.
Every year, I get invited to Toricon, and it's always the same weekend as something else. So it's been like 4 years.
Isn't it usually close to like PAX East Anime Boston?
That
Yeah.
and or Zenkai.
Right. So, yeah.
Far off dream someday. Someday finding an audience that is not only within my age bracket, but also has disposable income.
Yeah,
Someday.
that's a rare commodity in the wider anime fandom, I think, sadly.
It's
Precisely.
hanging out with the unicorns.
Precisely. Well, there you go. You break into either BronyCons or gaming cons or something that branches away from Tumblr. People were at least a generation that isn't getting their news source from Tumblr. So we did a Ask a Supervillain panel with like me and Plus 2 Comedy at a show. And our guy Noah is dressed as Gaston, Disney's Gaston. Yep. He gets the first 10 minutes is he defeating the heckles of like 16-year-old girls who weren't even sitting in chairs, just in one massive pile. Not even like a group hug, just a weird pile. Like they're all supposed to merge like one coral reef. After the panel, they come out, get a bunch of pictures and say, you're that thing from Tumblr. And they leave. And I realize that they don't know it's not a thing that generates new material.
Wow.
I don't even think they know the movie. Okay, time for sadness to kick in. To be old again.
One day they'll learn. They'll be like,
Will
oh,
they?
that's just like how, I can't think of a good example, but it's like you see something and you're like, I know that from somewhere. Where is it?
Yeah, Metalu, Galaxy Express. How many of those kids? They've seen that waif with the Russian hat and the yellow hair for
And
their
then
entire anime lives, and
years
they've never.
and years later, you see it and you
No.
see what it is.
4 people see it because they go to like our panel or Mike Toole's panel, and that's it.
Passive aggressive memories.
They will literally never find out what that was. On their deathbed, they'll wonder, what was that thing? And then
The weird Russian anime.
I think the weird Russian anime is that pirate ghost ship. So to pull the Daily Show bit at the end, what are you working on right now?
That's a pretty nice segue, and that's actually why I contacted you guys. And asked
That wasn't a
to step
segue at
on.
all. That was a straight up, I'm just going to redirect.
I mean, there's Segway, and then there's the Segway launching the president of Segway off the cliff. I'm tired of you anymore. You've abused my people for too long. You're going down the cliff now.
So speaking of segues,
That's right. The last 2 years, I've just had this thought in my head, and I've always wanted to. Now, as anyone who does tabletop RPGs, the name Dungeons and Dragons eventually comes up unless you want to branch into the indie circuit. I, by the way, over the last 2 months have done beyond Dungeons and Dragons, your panel that I've since altered.
Thievery of our Creative Commons license content.
6 times this year. No, 6 times in the last 2 months. This times this year. Oh my God, it's been almost 8 or 10.
If you do it 13 times, you'll have run it more times than we've run it.
Over the last 4 years, yeah, you bet. I'm actually up to closer to 30 times I've given a lecture.
It's probably more. That's more times than we have.
I mean,
sure.
but to your credit, though, I do take it from a very different perspective. For me, it's not so much about the game mechanic. I come at it from an improver, director / writer background. So the things I'm trying to also pitch is D&D might not be the best because maybe the charts are a tad too restricted for newer players. But if you start at an improv camp or you're just the theater kid who wants to get into RPing, quick to learn, quick to play games to give the power back to you because you've got all this energy, you want it to go somewhere, and you might not be 300 plus pounds with a anthropology degree, and your starting city, its main export is corn. Tell me what I can hit with my sword and kill. Well, it's actually a plutocracy, so you have to fill out these paperworks. So 2 years go by, and we're driving away from a self-imploding convention, and the friends in the car night, we just start playing with voices. Everyone who tries to do it, like I'm wearing the One Die short t-shirt right now. They're 6-episode web series that you've seen a bunch of times if you're within that closed off circuit, such as where are the Cheetos? Can I have a Mountain Dew +9 against killing ogres? It's always about the players and their meta lives, if you will. It's fun to go back and forth on that, but having LARP for a while in college, it eventually becomes a trope within its own microsphere. I always asked myself, and I still ask this when I'm running 4th edition, what are the monsters doing when the players aren't there? Clearly, like the Manticore did something to build itself up to be as dangerous as it is. Clearly, the dragon did something to accumulate that treasure. It just doesn't start that way. Maybe it had a good investment. Maybe it just shanked a bunch of people. Maybe it was smart enough to make off with the loot one step at a time. Maybe it was just like a pyramid scheme, or it was trickle-down economics, and suddenly Smaug has just mountains of gold. So the series became Dungeon Crawlers. And Dungeon Crawlers... completely puppet-based. Originally, I had the idea of making it an audio show because it's very easy for me to slip back and forth between going through Thrak. He's socially anxious. Hoarding Cyclops. Going back to Benny, who's the brains of the operation. I want to say Benny's an out-of-work actor / wraith / suffers from clinical depression. In the first episode of Dungeon Crawlers, Benny essentially breaks up with his therapist when he realizes his therapist is still trying to prescribe him medication to give to his roommate, just as a way to tackle onto the bill. You're sending me on a side quest? You can't do that. You're my therapist. You're supposed to help me. So we developed almost 2 seasons of the idea, and Kat finally looks me in the eye. A lot of my decisions come from her putting her foot down on top of my foot and saying, just do it and stop talking about it. No, stop.
Yep.
Let me rephrase that. Stop talking to me about it. Shut up. So we contact this amazing puppeteer, inventor. Her list goes on like more than Charles Dunbar's panel selection. A woman named Katrina Davies working for Beale Street Puppets down in Washington, D.C., and we commissioned Thrak, Benny, and their NPC hook / roommate, Jill. And the goal for 2014, and really the all my hats and credits and love has to go out to all of the guest voices who've been pimping it nonstop. As of right now, May 1st, we have 1 episode out, and every week I'm going to release an episode or a half episode, which there's one coming up where Thrak just reads out loud a pony / fic. The following mini episode is Benny apologizing for Thrak reading said /fic. But it's a 12 episode story arc, and we want to see how far it can go. We want to just really culminate the last 5 years of building up a name at anime conventions, building up a name online, pitching to podcasts to get the word out, pitching to the wonderful voice actors and within the abridging circuit who have been volunteering to do some voices for this. The people who, through the time and just dedication to blue screen it, Kat doing all the backgrounds, friends making all the music, showing what we can really do on zero budget and just a love of gaming. Have you guys ever played Panty Explosion?
I've heard of it.
Seen it around.
Okay. Episode 4, the puppets play Panty Explosion. So for me, I love the meta of Dungeons and Dragons monsters. They know they're in a campaign, and everything that they're restocking, they talk in that language, HP, AC, all of your armor class abbreviations, the tropes that you're going to have. But my main writing inspirations, hands down, Venture Brothers. For me, the Venture Brothers do such an amazing job of being so meta, self-aware, and yet creating their own gags and their own tropes. Shore Leave is just the name himself. There are so many wonderful contradictions and gags that you wouldn't expect to see from unless someone knew G.I. Joe so much. All you need to do to take a character from G.I. Joe is put them in hot pants, and suddenly that is the gayest thing I have ever seen. Tunnel Scrubs, Sergeant Slaughter, put them in hot pants. I get it. It can totally work.
I can see where you're going with that, though. I mean, Venture Brothers, and I think Archer kind of does the same thing.
Brilliantly.
The characters on the surface look like such a simple stereotype. Like, the advice I always give people learning to roleplay is just make an accent and just roleplay that accent, and everything else will just kind of happen automatically. So you get, like, this really simple character, but then by being aware and being self-consistent, you can do the same Venture Brothers thing and get deeper and deeper. Oh, the character's actually kind of complex. Oh, that was actually kind of sweet. Oh, that was actually kind of sad.
Well, I mean, accent stereotype only lasts so long, right? As soon as you're
yeah, because Willie is not in The Simpsons anymore.
No, but it's like even Willie, it's like as soon as he's forced to do something for more than 30 seconds, right? It's like something has to happen. That's not just oi. I'm Willie.
Damn Scots. They ruin accents. Yes, they certainly are hateful people.
Me haggis.
You just made yourself an enemy for life.
Sir, the mic's on.
That is the absolute right way to put it. I mean, Venture Brothers and Archer do the same thing. Like they mentioned, season 1, Pam works at a farm. So now, cutbacks to the farm. She's delivered cattle. She's done a bunch of drugs. She is apparently the god of the sex because she grew up on a farm. Give them an inch and take a mile. And that's one of my favorite parts about looking over a series, especially if you get into Venture Brothers now, season 5, look at the hints that they drop in season 1. Because there's a flashback episode where the Monarch in his Generation 1 outfit, the first night he bones Dr. Girlfriend back before she became Dr. Girlfriend, he mentions a character that we've never heard of before, Captain Sunshine, who comes in season 3 or 4 to be voiced by the great Kevin Conroy. So I see that the trigger is still on. I say, you'll never break my impervious armor. And to this day, he thinks I'm immune to harm.
Now, see, I don't know, something like that. It's like they didn't write 4 seasons at once, right?
Not at all.
They went and they're like, all right, we're making season 4 now. Let's watch season 1. I need a character. Someone mentioned one. Boom.
Let's see what we can do with that.
Use it.
So how are you doing it? How much of what you're doing is
he's only doing 12 episodes.
But leaving hints for the forward or future seasons versus if you did a season 2, this gets really popular. Are you going to be going back, mining through the script, pulling out proper nouns that were mentioned offhandedly, and then charting everything together?
What we do have is just hours of the original 3 creators, Jack, Aaron, and myself, just throwing ideas out at each other and realizing we should keep going back and wondering about this. A couple of things that we established in the improv scene that got cut in the scripts, Thrak is one of those idiots who knows a bunch of famous people but doesn't know why they're famous. It's just me and John. John who? Let me show you the photo. Jesus, how do you know John Bon Jovi? Oh, that's his last name. I just call him John Tight Pants. He's a good friend of my mom's, apparently. What we're doing with the first 12 episodes is I'm working it around the guest stars that I can pull in just to get ears turned in the directions. There's a lot of heart that's going into it, and I actually get surprised when I get choked up or I start laughing at a script. I was writing down last night, I was writing a dialogue with a dire kale, and I realized what is huge everywhere and so violently primitive. Dude, kale as opposed to regular lettuce. It's so high maintenance and crunchy and angry.
And poison.
You have to grind it and rub it in your hands before you can even think to chew it. And even then, it does not go down without a vicious fight.
Well, you shouldn't eat raw kale, only eat cooked kale.
It's insanity. So of course, what if there were dire kale took over the cave? What could we do with that? So to answer your question, I have I definitely have the first 2 seasons plotted out, figured out, and there are a couple of subplots I just have to figure out what would be the best possible payoff. Because the way the Venture Brothers love to write their script is they write a joke. They write an entire episode setting up for that joke, and when they finally are ready to record, they throw the joke out, and the episode stands on its own. So what I've been able to do is take these 10, 12-page scripts, because the episodes are only 10 minutes long, what have you, with intro, outro. Benny does this episode was brought to you by Jabalsag, Master of Beasts. Let's try it in a sentence. how the hell do you pronounce that? Well, we do a lot of that. Thrack's always on the phone with a different one of our guest stars. Just working backwards from those payoff have been an amazing journey that even though I exited school with a playwriting degree, we all looked at each other saying we should have just been writing college humor and Funny or Die skits, because the year after we graduate, after they spend 4 years hammering us down, you must read Bronte, you must read Strindberg's plays, you must read Poe's plays, you must read all these weird esoteric, but we really like these 5-10 minute skits that make us laugh.
Because we're young with short attention spans, and so is the audience.
Well, even
There
look
will
at Mike
never be an
Krahulik.
audience for that.
I mean, Penny Arcade, Mike Krahulik, he was yelled at by all his teachers saying you shouldn't be drawing that stupid comic crap. Your style is too comic-y, your jokes are too mature, and it kind of worked
Didn't
out
even
for
go to
him.
college.
Yeah, that was high school art.
Yep.
And Lord knows it pays off when you just know your audience and you just start writing for yourself. That's been one of the neatest things for me, is writing something that I would care about, that would surprise me, weird side gags that would make me laugh. I love the things that Archer will do, the way that everyone in that office has a shared dialogue or shared gags throughout those episodes, the way that they had phrasing, dropped phrasing, or everybody says this new place called, this new thing called. You realize these are people who are stuck living and working together for so long. They've acquired that alpha meme setters, trends, and gags. And I'm finding it by inventing words with Thrack, Benny, and Jill. But the process has truly been rewarding. And the hope is with the first season is people like it. Maybe at the end of the year we do enough with it, because it's not just the series that's going to happen. Thrack has his own Twitter feed. Primarily at the moment, it's his
Full
Twitter feed
internet.
about him eating people. Full internet. I want to walk Thrack. He's a monstrous puppet too. I mean, the head itself is like 3.5 pounds, which for couch foam is a big head. I want to walk him around parks. Now it's suddenly warm enough. I can walk him around Union Square, Central Park, hand out business cards, have him interact with people. I'm trying to contact area LARPs so I can film outside there. We're trying to contact gaming stores. And one of the ideas was either let's play with classic games like Golden Axe, but it's hard to do because Thrack's hands don't work. Benny is a puppet.
Puppets doing Let's Play. Oh, shit.
Finally, we have reached the singularity of the internet. Thing is, Thrack's hands can't move. They're still. Benny's hands are my hands and gloves, so he can physically play. Or maybe it just ends up being commentary, where
You don't need to show the hands, right? You can just put them on the couch.
No, realism.
While someone lays on the ground playing. Or
it's me failing the game and then just doing Thrack and Benny's commentating. Or what I'd love to do is just have Betty and Thrack, a la The Gentleman's Guide to Gaming, review existing games. Like when I first heard about Wraith the Oblivion, old World of Darkness game, it is Benny's life manifested, but so much more dark and emo. And the parallels made me just as sad as they made me happy. I'm hoping to really put in a lot of comedy heart behind this. Thrack breaks my heart in that he is so socially awkward, he can't turn away people who come to the door. But he's so good at his job at
Better hope vampires don't knock.
Precisely. In episode 2, I'll let you know. Episode 3, he lets in a bunch of Loth witnesses who are just my, I guess, my over-the-top Mormon parodies. They're just trying to give him literature. They're trying to, and he doesn't attack them until they
That's
ask
that big
for
spider
money.
thing that was at PAX, right?
Scott doesn't know anything about Forgotten Realms. I apologize.
I'm right, though, aren't I?
Spider Girl.
No, he's totally right.
I said spider thing.
Yeah.
It didn't start on 4chan. It was Forgotten. Oh, save me from Dridervor.
Listen, if I remembered the realms, they wouldn't be forgotten, would they?
There you have it. Yeah, you're calling them out on their false advertising. What's it got to say about Dragonlance now?
Yeah, the only Forgotten Realm is Al-Qadim.
They brought back Greyhawk. They brought back Dark Sun, but they couldn't do
It's too racist.
Al-Qadim is a step below Ravenloft in terms of remembered and respected.
I love the art for that though. It was
Oh,
so
it is really
beautiful.
good.
I have under my bed, and when my nephew was born, I decided to keep his father around because he grew up with D&D. So I have a bunch of just second edition, not even like advanced D&D, but just second edition magic items as cards. I have the box set of the first release of Dark Sun. It's too battered to play with, but it has the flip over cards for the initial initial campaign. It has the fluff literature. It has the fold-out map, that delicious map of the
We
world.
should do some Dark Sun Torchbearer. Both equally deadly. It would work.
Dark Sun is way more deadly than Torchbearer.
You think so?
In the old rules, you started characters at, I believe, level 3 because level 1 character just couldn't make it.
They couldn't. You like the lowest constitution you could have and survive a day in Dark Sun was like 16, 17. So they all your stats weren't rolled on d6s. They were rolled on like multiple d4s plus add the following. And we thought, holy crap! I can play a half giant. I can play a half giant that's not only psychic and psionic with telekinesis, but he's got like a strength of 24. I'm gonna need that. Yeah, because your wisdom score is 3. What? That's the max. This is great. I'm gonna play a mole. It's like a bald half dwarf gladiator migrant who's also psychic, and that was like the flavoring of Dark Sun is also you're psychic.
Everyone's also psychic. Even the bugs.
They had released psionics, and that was psionics in 2nd edition.
Yep, they can wear armor. They have psychic powers. They can learn to disintegrate people by level 3 if
and
they
they're
min-max.
also not too shabby with swords, unlike some other people.
They can use a fucking scimitar.
Bitch, it's because that's what hurt me in 2nd edition. That, and then when they released the ninja book, and then to this day,
Oh my god, the ninja book.
the ultimate ninja.
The elf book was actually the most broken because there was all elves could do something, a trick shot.
This is Rim's
Yes.
favorite thing in the world.
So-
I have that book. I know the trick shot.
Yep, you can shoot additional arrows with a
Revelry.
-4 penalty stacking per each arrow, but because you always hit on a 20, you might as well shoot 5 arrows per turn.
Go for it. You have
Or
you have a chance
round,
with it.
not turn, to be clear.
Back in the day.
Don't run out of arrows.
But yeah, I mean, for me, Dungeon Crawlers comes from a long-seated just love of stories of comedy, and for some reason, adding the puppets, and finally, I was always moving something with my hands. Even talking now, they never stop moving. Putting that energy into moving Thrak and moving Benny somehow makes it that much more magical. There, some of the rules I've learned from the other puppeteers, like I've been having on my show, is on Sesame Place, when they film in front of a live audience, or on Sesame Street, on any of those, when the puppet is taken off the arm, it goes into a black trash bag so that the children never see a dead puppet. There is nothing friendlier or more satisfying than a live puppet talking at you, but the moment you set it in the corner, it is the darkest, scariest, like memento mori you will ever have. I mean, because when Chucky, when the Child's Play Chucky is talking, it's kind of funny, it's corny. Without a doubt, it's corny, but if he's just in the corner, just staring, not blinking, it is so inhuman. It's so unnerving. It just reminds
I will tell
creepy
you,
doll.
after I saw Child's Play when I was a young child, because I guess that was what my mom liked to do, show me horror movies. I remember I locked my buddy and my wrestling buddy in the closet.
They came out stronger than ever. No, I mean, how paralyzing was my fear of Child's Play? College, junior year of college, my room was next to the bathroom, as in I didn't even have to step out and turn left. I could have done it in like a nice 75-degree turn if I just held onto my doorframe, and I couldn't step out because I just had this intense nightmare with Chucky, and it was only through like repeating lyrics from the on-campus band Fireflies I was able to step off into the restroom. Working the haunted house that I did back in Bucks County for 15 years, we have a replica of the Chucky doll that may or may not have been stolen from the set. That may or may not be canon. It's not for me to know, not for me to tell. But I would puppeteer George the skeleton. So my left hand would move his head and move his mouth, and my right hand had to move the hand, had to wear the glove. But to my left, no more than 15 feet away from me, who only has like a leg to defend himself because everything else is tucked into this corner to operate this puppet, is the Chucky doll with this strobe light flashing beneath him. So half the time I can't see him because I'm backstage in a haunted house in total darkness. The other half I can just make out that Chucky is still there. I'm not watching the audience. The whole night I'm thinking, okay, if he grabs a knife, I can bring up my knee and like whip kick him. He's small. He can't have any momentum, can't have any strength. I've got this, and I can beat him off with my left hand. If I free up the right hand, maybe my puppet can beat that puppet.
Skeleton, yeah,
I
definitely.
am so scared of this son of a bitch. But it was finally working at that haunted house where I got over the fear of, say, Gremlins and Chucky. Those were the two big things that I always saw in the darkness.
Oh, Gremlins. You know, I think we're in the
Spike,
same
yeah.
boat. When I was a kid, I didn't really get that was more comedy than
Me
horror.
either. I mean, I was a kid. I barely
wasn't.
understood what I was seeing.
Like Beetlejuice too. Like I didn't get that Beetlejuice was supposed to be funny. I just thought it was a straight up for serious horror movie.
Yeah, me too.
Or like kids today watching Adventure Time, And you look at them, how are you laughing at this? Do you not see what he just devoured, how that was dealt with? It was funny. He hit it with his butt. Oh, God. They're completely desensitized. Nope, they're just kids. I mean, kids can take apart anything that lays down still long enough. Hello, Mr. Worm. I wonder what you look like on the inside. Whereas if you do it now, hello, Mr. Taxi Driver. I wonder what color your blood is. Oh, now we get arrested. What happens in those times when we grow up? The magic is left.
Yeah, even in anime. I mean, Vampire Hunter D was the greatest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Boobies.
And Project Echo was a totally super 100% serious, not a comedy story about a superhero girl.
More boobies.
Yeah, there were boobs in that.
The first 5 minutes I'm watching this, we were able to rent it from the video store, and it said clearly not for kids. My mom looked at the cover. Oh, cartoon. It must be good for him. So,
well, because usually the Disney stuff was literally right next to like Harmageddon and Doom Megalopolis.
Yeah. The first tape, or even like volume 4 of Berserk. Well, it's a cartoon, so it must be like, at worst, heavy metal.
Yep, and usually Plague Dogs is hanging around in there too.
I guess you could tell how enlightened the Blockbuster manager was based on where the videos were.
Oh my God, yeah.
They were under the Japanimation section.
Ugh. That point, what
ours were actually next to like the Godzilla movies and stuff.
Wow,
pretty well organized.
You actually had a fan. You had an in guy.
Maybe. The selection wasn't any better, believe me.
Behind the desk and behind the curtain. Now, if you wanted something good, you had to go to Funkoland for the $10 bin. That's how we discovered Bastard. To this day.
I didn't discover Bastard till RIT.
Yeah, to this day, it's still like George and I's favorite. We would do a thing at Purchase called Bastards and Baileys, where we would introduce someone.
Anthraxia.
I think it's
Anthraxia. I haven't seen that in so long.
We would show someone all 6 episodes and then play The Darkness, I Believe in a Thing Called Love. But we also had this recipe for homemade Bailey's Irish Cream. So we would drink Bailey's and watch Bastard. And one of the final nights.
Is there a third B? Bailey's Bastard and
no. Ball pipe?
Okay.
I've never told you guys about ball pipe. That is
ball pipe.
That is for a very different. The only man.
Is this 18 plus?
The only man in the world who I could denote on the same level of almost sociopathical, analytical critique and shameless charisma. On par with you, Rim, is a man named Pirate Dan Comstock.
Pirate Dan.
Sounds familiar.
He
Pirate
is
Dan.
at Kineticon most years running the LARP. He ran Tales of the Dreaming. It was his original creation. His senior project was to become a certified experimental psychologist. But as pirates, they had terrible games such as the Hammer Game, Three-Way Strangle, and then the epic that would be Ball Pipe, which is you find a metal pipe. 2 guys rested on their scrotums. You count down from 5. One guy pushes into the other guy until he stops. You count down from 10. Then the other guy pushes as far as... And even though they had a tournament of this on the front park, UPD would not break it up because they realized all we can do is let them continue and help the gene pool. This is the best that we can do. And on the final nights of Pirate Television, the amazing Jesse Lear challenged Pirate Dan to ball pipe. So you had 2 men. Between the 2 of them weighed at least 92 pounds. Playing ball pipe. It went to extreme ball pipe where it poked through and tore through Jesse's jeans. And then
I'm glad you said jeans and not something else.
No, we had that incident too, because then it ran right, it cleared its way through Dan's boxers at that point. So it was testy on testy, proving that nobody ever wins ball pipe until I kid you not, they pushed into each other at the same time. And the metal bar, bent into a U shape, to which they held it up and said, this is the wishbone that proves no one can win ball pipe. So Bastard and Bailey's, and our last year, we did a double batch of Bailey's. We put it in one of those big hollow plastic tubs that you'd get like discount pretzels at like a Walgreens or what have you, and we froze it. So after like 2 hours in the freezer, it was a slushy, and I was with Pirate.
Oh, I thought you were distilling it in the freezer.
No, I think fractional distillation of Bailey's is a bad idea.
I was gonna say, I'm like, how come you're not blind right now?
Temporarily. We ended up doing double the whiskey content because we were with Pirate Mike, and the rule is you open the bottle, you end the Jameson. So I can't remember, but there's like part A, B, and C in the story. And for me, we finished watching, showing actually Kristen Benedict. We first showed her Bastard. A is me standing up saying, let's go to the hub before it closes. C is me waking up with my head on top of the Xbox saying, "My head hurts now." B was apparently one of those season 1 Family Guy cutaway to collapse. Good. I got to make that recipe again. Because you can actually taste a little bit of the coffee. You taste a little hint of the chocolate, but it's mainly, if you're a creamy fan, which I definitely am all the way, it is a wonderful after-dinner cocktail to sip, and I should still have that recipe. If not, my stepsister's mother definitely does. Yeah. But
All
I mean,
right.
that is the big project. It is a fantasy sitcom. Dungeon Crawlers is a fantasy sitcom about monsters living in a dungeon in a fantasy campaign, but they must first survive being roommates.
Have you read Donjon, the comic by Jean Sfar?
French, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have a copy of that, Ren?
I have all the volumes.
Scott owns everything. I don't buy comics anymore.
Okay, I remember the name, but I have not looked into it.
Yeah, you should. You
It's
should
worth
get into
reading.
that.
It might give you. It's
At least,
not the
at least
same as what you're
Zenith
doing.
arc. The Zenith arc is worth
Yeah,
reading.
but it's got some of those elements and also feathers. So I guess we're at the portion where we get into the more rapid fire short answer questions like we did with other people we've done this profile in Geek, which not that many people. You're joining a hallowed hall of personalities.
The handful of people that are bothered to
I think I've had more guests on my podcast than you.
We don't do guests very often.
Yep.
Huzzah.
Kind of like how we don't take questions at our panels. And the
That's
weirdest
right.
thing in fucking Lancaster at ZenkaiCon, every lecture or panel we did,
This one guy, we had to tell him literally,
Like,
we
he
don't
raised his
take
hand?
questions. He's like, no, but seriously, I'm like, we don't take questions.
well, there's the guy in the back who kept raising his hand, and then he got really mad when I said something about candy.
But Carl, you're gonna take questions.
I think I know exactly who you were talking about. He's a sweetheart on the internet.
So what was the first anime you ever saw that you knew was anime?
That I actually knew was anime was Project Echo, because I knew it was
Oh.
from Japan, and I knew that it was not for me to watch.
Let's see
We'll
what else.
alternate.
Oh, alternate?
Yeah,
Okay,
let's do this.
that makes it easier. What is the movie? Not necessarily the best movie or your favorite movie, but like the movie that you could watch 10 million times and not get tired of it.
Perfect Blue and Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Ooh.
Has
Okay.
been since high school, and I think it always will be. Perfect Blue, I see it differently
I've only
every
seen Perfect
single
Blue like twice. I should see it again.
every
for
single
sure.
time. Something else comes out. There's something about the coloration, something about the mise en scène.
Right, it's short answers, but yeah,
Lovely.
everyone knows Perfect Blue is awesome.
Have we ever reviewed that on the show?
No, but we should.
We should. I could watch it again.
Wednesday episode done.
All right.
J-pop and K-pop taking it back. predicted Britney Spears' downfall before Britney Spears.
What is the worst major motion picture you watched all the way to the end?
Ferngully.
Ferngully's not that bad.
The first Ferngully.
I like Ferngully.
Ferngully for me was a turning point because it was the first time I watched something that was animated, and within 10 minutes, I turned to my father and say, "Dad, I think this is bad. Like, I think this is a bad, dumb movie." He goes, "Yes, it is. Happy birthday."
All right.
Wow, we're Band of Brothers. When I was a kid, for me, it was Clifford with Martin Short playing a 10-year-old boy. And I remember that was the moment where we were watching it, my whole family, and my dad just stands up about a half hour in and says, "This is terrible," and walks out of the room. And in that moment, I realized you don't have to watch a movie to the end. You can just turn it off.
I didn't know you could even leave the audience until like I saw Jack Nicholson's Wolf in the theater, and I stepped out because it's the
Oh
first
my
10
God, I
minutes.
just remembered that movie.
The first 10 minutes of the movie, I was, "Oh no, don't go up to the wolf. The wolf's gonna bite you. The wolf's gonna bite you. The wolf's gonna bite you." And I had actually I have been assaulted by wolves in my lifetime, so I did not want to see that on a big screen where there was nowhere for me to escape to.
All
You
right,
didn't miss
so,
much.
Yo, you work in a restaurant. What's the best restaurant you've eaten at, and what'd you eat there?
Best restaurant that I have eaten at. Okay, in recent memory over the last couple of years, I'm going to go with Burgatory out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Parallel to that is 5320, where they do alcoholic milkshakes made with ice cream that is churned in that restaurant. It is placed on buns, baked in that restaurant. It is fed with cows that are grown 3 miles outside of that restaurant.
Ooh. Is there
Talk
food?
about local.
What foods do you not like or not eat?
What at this point I really don't do steak. I will give almost anything a shot, but I never knew foods that I would not touch until after Kat tried everything with me, because the Chinese, maybe that's the best way to end it. I will just say that
we've been down that road.
They, Native Americans and zombies, have the same format of, it's fine, chew it.
What is it? Eat it first.
Eat it first, and
Mike
then we'll tell you.
Eat it this. Oh, it's pig's ear sliced real thin. Great. It's unchewable.
It's fine. Chew it.
It tastes fine. It tastes like bacon. It's just unchewable.
Like there's mooing and then 2 seconds in boiling hot water. It's safe now. I don't believe you. Where'd you buy this? Chinatown. It is not safe. There's a hermit crab that just crawled out of the bok choy. It's fine. Fell down over here. Yeah, something plastic just like broke off a sky.
Yeah, something broke on my chair. It's very strange.
That chair is so ancient.
All right. What video game are you playing right now?
The only thing that could even constitute it as that, and I don't think that it does, is Candy Crush Saga.
That counts.
Okay. I want to get into...
Is it a piece of software? Is it a game?
Okay. Last 6 months, I've had Chris Troy's copy of Final Fantasy IX, and because Dungeon Crawlers came up and I went back to work, have not had the time to touch it. But I want it. I want it, so I want to play it so bad.
You like the JRPGs?
Nah, I just want to play through Final Fantasy IX. I love the character design, and I loved watching my friend Dave run through it. I don't have the time or patience to commit to another Final Fantasy.
The only Final Fantasy IX I ever played was I just watched Greasy Ken play like the first 2 hours. The day it came out.
Oh, they didn't even get to trance at 2 hours into it.
He spent a lot of time playing some card game with NPCs.
Oh, yeah. I remember watching Luke Morgan pretty much play all of Final Fantasy 8 or 10. I'm not sure.
We spent a whole school semester breeding that goddamn golden chocobo, and then another semester mastering Knights of the Round. It may or may not have been worth it.
Yeah, I remember spending a lot of time fighting dinosaurs so that I could have my entire party in Final Fantasy VI just cast Ultima over and over and over again. I held down A with one character and beat Kefka, and then I realized I hated JRPGs.
I realized that long before.
I think it was the last one I played earnestly.
I stopped playing them after high school.
I just don't think that they've matched the fun story and innovativeness that was Final Fantasy VI. I'm not sure if anything that has come along that's really captured or been that unique for me.
Chrono Trigger?
Well, Chrono Trigger,
Those two.
You put those two on par, yeah. For me, I don't think something has beaten Chrono Trigger.
I agree there.
No.
I mean, that's
as
probably...
far as JRPG goes, have other like genres broken through that? Like, do you want to argue that that Mass Effect redid first-person shooter or maybe third-person shooter or RPG? You could definitely make that argument, but in terms of JRPGs, for that time it was Chrono Trigger.
Barkley, shut up and jam Gaiden.
Kill La Kill. Is it awesome?
No, because it's fabulously awesome, motherfucker.
Okay. Rim, you're asking 2 easy questions.
Yeah.
Too small.
I'm just trying to move quickly to put the pressure on you to ask better questions.
Lightning round.
Everything's a game. Someone we know just read Use of Weapons. I'm using weapons.
You know, I've never seen you really interested in anything sporty or athletic, but you are not unfit. Are you doing sport in secret?
Am I sporting in secret? I have my push-ups and sit-up regiment that I've done most of my life. I have never liked team sports. I've never been physically an active team player. I really just ended up to my father's genes. He set records at Penbury High School in Pennsylvania that remained unbroken for a good 15 years. And thankfully, I got enough of that DNA plus my mother's immune system. I'm pretty okay, but it takes no effort for me to get fat suddenly, but it takes, thankfully, not P90X effort to kind of lose it. Also,
regular P90?
Yeah, just regular P90.
P80?
I just always wear dark clothing.
Oh, got to do the vertical stripes and the platform shoes, Bart Simpson style.
Simpson style, and walk in a chihuahua as well. Spike up the hair. Every comedian wears black because it's slimming. However, I don't wear clothing that fits me appropriately. One of these days I will.
What authors do you like? Like, do you have any particularly favorite authors of novels?
Novels particularly, Neil Gaiman and Neil Stephenson stand out for
all the
me.
Neils.
All the Neils. Graphic novels. I am running back through Mike Carey's run of Lucifer, the spin-off to Neil Gaiman's The Sandman, and I love how that guy goes back and forth and everything. I love the scope of that story. His other book, The Unwritten, I've not gotten into.
I have The Unwritten
just yet.
Yeah.
It wrapped up, didn't it?
I don't know. I have a lot of trades. I don't know if it's over yet.
Okay. And then Mark Waid as well. I like any story that he gets the chance and has the time to flesh out those characters, get into their skin, get into their dialogue.
What?
All right, Scott, last question.
All right, what is the farthest away convention you went to? Can you beat our Australia?
I cannot. It was Anime Expo, which was a communicative and collective effort from the entire family. As in
I was hoping that you maybe went away to a con like some weird place in Canada or something.
Lord knows. Hey, I would fly out
Because
to
that's further away than Australia.
I
Listen,
would fly out to Dubai to do a show.
Northern Territories is farther away than Australia.
Woo! Anime
All right.
Expo for me.
I still haven't been to Anime Expo. I don't know if I will.
Yeah, you want to just go to Sakura-Con first?
Probably, maybe.
Someday.
Yeah, I was joking. I'm never going to Sakura-Con.
Fear and loathing.
All right. I think
right.
on that note, I'm really fucking hungry.
The weather is too nice.
When
Everyone,
the weather's fine. Da-da-da-da-da.
if you like Karl, you should go check out his stuff. He's making more stuff. He
Yep.
told you about it already.
Lots of links to all his stuff.
Yep.
Woot and a half. No, thank you for having me on, guys. Good yelling at ourselves.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
Began to sing, and he sang, "Ooh, child, what'd you think the cold winter's gonna last forever? Ooh, child, now's the time for all the people to get together outside, 'cause it's the first of May, outdoor fucking starts today. So bring your favorite lady, or at least your favorite thing. Water's not cold, baby, dip in your big toe. Maybe I'll see you in flagrante delay.